Welcome students. So today I have come up with a new chapter, the third level, Vistas chapter. So first I'll introduce yourself with the author. This is Jack Finney. Okay, this is Jack Finney. So Walter Braden Jack Finney was an American author. He was born on 2nd October 1911 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. Finney was given the name Jack Finney, and after his father died when he was 3 years old, he was renamed Walter Braden Finney in honor of his father, but he continued to be known as Jack throughout his life. He graduated in 1934 from Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois, and he married Margaret Guest. They had two children, Kenneth and Margaret. So he lived in Mill Valley, California, and died of pneumonia and emphysema November 14, 1995 at the age of 84 in Green Bay, California. His best known works are science fiction and thrillers including The Body Snatchers and Time and Again. So this is the small introduction about Jack Finney, known for his science fiction. His works are amalgamated of reality and fantasy, and the present story, the third level, it's all about that also. So let's move on that world, third level, the world that's existence is a question, whether does it exist in a real world, that to be answered. So if we'll go to the text, definitely we'll discuss. So before that, introduction is very important. The narrator in the story interweaves fantasy with reality in the most futuristic projection of time travel. Is very important. How does time travel? Charlie, a young New York commuter, loses his way. He finds himself in what he thinks is the third level of the Grand Central Station in New York. The Grand Central Station has subways on the two levels from where the commuters take trains to different destinations. No third level was ever built, and however, Charlie believes in the existence of the third level operating in a time frame of 1890. The period of the 1890s represent a peaceful life not possible in the present era. From this level, Charlie wants to travel to Galesburg, Illinois with his wife Louisa. For him, it is a part of reality, while his psychiatrist friend calls it a waking dream of wish fulfillment. So, this is about the story. This is all about how does the story has been introduced, and next I'll discuss about the theme of the story. So what is the theme of the story? The story, the third level, is the most concise and entertaining story about time travel. Charlie wishes to be transported to the third level. Charlie is the central character of the story. The world of 1894, which is supposedly a much happier and quieter place to be. The question of whether the third level exists in reality or only in Charlie's mind can be inferred from Sam's letter. The story also dwells on the theme of escapism. Is very important. Escapism, not only as a psychological refuge from the grim realities of the present day world, but also as a desire to stay with the past or to keep the past alive in the complexities of the present. So sometimes that happens in our life also. That escapism, that terms comes when we are in trouble, in danger, we try to escape the situation. So the theme of escapism, amalgamation of reality and fantasy, and time travel, these are the major themes discussed in this story. Okay, now characters description, introduction is very important. Charlie is there, 31-year-old young man, the protagonist of the story. Next we have Louisa, wife of Charlie. Sam Weiner, Charlie's friend by profession, psychiatrist. The clerk, ticket window clerk at the third level. President Cleveland, the description is given, Stephen Grover Cleveland, March 18, 1837 to June 24, 1908, was an American politician, lawyers, who was the 22nd and 24th president of the United States, the only president in American history to serve two non-consecutive terms in the office, 1885 to 89 and 1893 to 97. So Grand Central Station, that place is also important, very very vital. Railway station, New York. Grand Central Terminal is a commuter rail terminal located 42nd Street and Park Avenue in Midtown, Manhattan, New York City. The World, the name of the newspaper, the renowned newspaper in 1894. Galesburg, city of Knox County, Illinois, United States. Illinois is a state in the Midwestern and the Great Lakes regions of the United States. Illinois is known as the land of Lincoln, as Abraham Lincoln spent most of his life there. And this is the summary. So before I'll explain the story. Summary part is important so that you will be acquainted with the story. So what is the story? The story begins in a mock serious manner. Everyone knows that there are the only two levels at Grand Central Station, New York, but Charlie, a 31-year-old guy, asserts that there are three and he had been on the third level. So story starts like that, existence of the third Grand Central Station, third level. So there are the two passages only, two levels, but Charlie, the new protagonist of the story, the narrator of the story, says that there are the three levels, the third level also, and he had been transported that level. One night what happens, Charlie, an ordinary guy who worked late at the office and he was in a hurry to reach home, so he decided to take the subway from the Grand Central Station. He turned into the Grand Central from the Vanderbilt Avenue and went down the steps to the first level where one could take trains like the 20th century. Then he walked down to the second level where the trains left for the suburban areas. Then he ducked into an arched doorway heading for the subway and got lost. So how did he get lost from that particular zone that is given, that is introduced, and Charlie keeps walking in the quiet corridor, angling left and slanting downward till he reaches an architecturally old station that is completely different from the two familiar levels. The antique small room with the fewer ticket counters, train gates, wooden information booth, flickering open that flame gas lights, brass spittoons remind him of the architecture of the 18th century. He also finds that people are dressed in outmoded outfits. So he had been transported that world, the third level, and these are the differences, peculiarities, the strangeness that he had noticed. What the peculiarities he had noticed? That the people were in different dress code, no electricity, gas lights, open flames gas lights, brass spittoons, all are evident. And he notices the date in the newspaper. The World is printed 11th of June 1894. He turns towards the ticket windows, wants to buy 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. Since he had no old style currency, he couldn't buy tickets and came back home. So he had lost his way a couple of times earlier to while taking the subway once he entered the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. While the other time he emerged at an office building that was 3 blocks away. But this time when he loses his way, something unique happens. He visits the third level also. So he had always wanted to travel to Galesburg with his wife Louisa. In his mind it is a wonderful town still with old frame houses, huge lawns, tremendous trees whose branches met overhead the roof of the streets. It is a place with long and pleasant summer evenings where people sat out on their lawns, smoked cigars, talked quietly. So the next day during that lunch, he exchanges $300 for old style bills amounting to some 200 only. The loss doesn't bother him as much. He believes that Galesburg everything will be cheaper and then he can manage even with a small amount. But he could never again find the corridor leading to the third level. He could never find the corridor leading to the third level. His wife Louisa is worried about knowing all this and asks him not to look after for the third level any further up. Suddenly Charlie realizes that his psychiatrist friend Sam Weiner, with whom he shared his experience, is nowhere to be found. So he and his wife keep looking for him at the weekends. They had a fear in mind, so they had searched his psychiatrist friend Sam. One day, while Charlie was fussing with the stamp collection, comes across a letter that was not there earlier. It bears the postmark on a faded 6-cent stamp with a picture of the President Garfield. Envelope was sent on 18 July 1894 to Charlie's grandfather in Galesburg and is addressed to Charlie. The letter reads that Sam has reached Galesburg and is enjoying his life there. He also invites Charlie and Louisa to Galesburg. When Charlie goes to the stamp and coin store, he found out that Sam had brought $800 worth of old currency bills to establish his business of hay and feed and grain in Galesburg. The letter was written by Sam Weiner, who was Charlie's psychiatrist. So the story concludes that way, abrupt way. His friend Sam Weiner, who did not believe the existence of the third level, had transported that world, had started a different profession, hay and grain. So that really amused and wondered Charlie a lot. He didn't know how could it happen. So this strange conclusion of the story, that asking questions about that existence of the third level, and the people find it hard to make peace with unpleasant things they come across in life. It brings out a common man's craving for peace and security. Sometimes we are in that zone, that discomfort zone. Like any common man, Charlie too appreciates the so-called that pleasures of everyday life. He wants to stay in the past because 1894 is much more peaceful, secure and serene. The world in 1894 has not seen the repercussions of war. Insecurities that come with war, terror, disease had gotten the better of common folks. Like the Charlie, he wants a transient relief from the harsh realities of life. So it is a transient relief from that harsh reality, how to come up from that zone, how to become escapist, living out that world. Okay, so this is the summary. Let's begin the chapter. So this is my first video. This is the part 1, and the part 2 you will get the whole story. That means the remaining part of the story. This is the first part, and in the second part the whole story has been covered. So this is the story, the third level, Jack Finney. The presidents of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven and the Hartford railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only two. So when the story starts, there is a question that have you ever had any curious experience which others find hard to believe? So the story is like that. How does time fly? How does a person create that third level? So it starts with that the mock heroic manner, humor. Okay, what humor? That is that a satire like that, that the presidents of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven and the Hartford, that railroads will swear on a stack of timetables. There are the existence of only two levels, two passages. But I say, who is I here? Charlie, the narrator of the story, that there are three. Because I have been on the third level of the Grand Central Station. Yes, I have taken the obvious step. What? He said that he had been that zone. I talked to a psychiatrist friend of mine, among others. I told him about the third level at Grand Central Station, and he said it was a waking dream of wish fulfillment. He did not believe at all. He said that it was a waking dream of wish fulfillment. He said that I was unhappy, that made me wipe kind of mad, but he explained that he meant the modern world is full of insecurity, fear, war, worry and all the rest of it, and that I just want to escape. Well, who doesn't? Everybody I know wants to escape, but they don't wander down into the third level at the Grand Central Station. So that's given that when we are in the discomfort zone, when the whole world, modern world is full of insecurity, so that time that we enter that world, that third level, that is you can say the strange creation. imaginative world in one's mind. Same happened with Charlie. Next para. But that's the reason he said. And my friends all agreed. Everything points to it. They claimed that my stamp collecting, for example, it is a temporary refuge from the reality. That's given, that is a temporary refuge from the reality. So another that hobby is given. This is called philately, stamp collection. There is a temporary refuge from the reality. Well, maybe, but my grandfather did not need any refuge from the reality. So he had that knack of collecting stamps, and he shared that his grandfather also had same knack, but it doesn't all about coming out from the reality. Things were very pretty nice that time, okay, and peaceful in his day, grandfather's day. From all I hear, and he started my collection. It is a nice collection too. Blocks of 4 of the practically every US issue, first day covers, and so on. We'll get to know about the first day covers, okay, when that will proceed to the next part of the story. President Roosevelt collected stamps too, that you know. So this para is all about that hobbies, knack that we are get into. We come from the reality, that zone. So anyway, here is what happened at Grand Central Station. How did it happen? How could he reach that zone? That's given. One night last summer, I worked late at the office. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment, so I decided to take the subway from the Grand Central because it is faster than the bus, so it's better for him. So now I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie. So here, after that few lines, the narrator Charlie has been introduced with himself, saying that is my name is Charlie. My age is 31 years old. I was wearing a tan gabardine suit. That is the picture is given. It is a very tight suit. Gabardine suit is used to that time. Those people, straw hat, a fancy band. Past a dozen men who looked at just like me, and I wasn't trying to escape from anything. That I just wanted to get home to Louisa, my wife. So this is the description. So how could he get into that level, that zone? So he said that he was coming from the office late. He was in a hurry to get uptown, and he decided it's better for him to take the subway from the Grand Central because it is faster than the bus. And we readers, we know about Charlie. What is Charlie's description? That he is a 31-year old guy, okay, 31-year-old guy, and he was wearing that tan gabardine suit, a straw hat that is given, and fancy band. So it's all about what, that up to that he described himself, how did he escape from the reality. These are the lines, this description is given. So the students, for this part, this video is up to here, Louisa my wife, and you will watch my second video, part 2, that I have covered the total story. So let take me to a nutshell of the story. So what about that, the amalgamation of reality, okay, and fantasy, the existence of the third level. How do we create that zone? That we know that modern world is full of insecurity, war, disease, that's also given. And that theme of that escapism, how does the people fly away from the reality, that you know, that is sometimes it tells that you are escapist, that you are coming, you are going away from the real situation. And fourthly, that I would say, that's all about what, how does time travel, how does time fly. That's also very very important, and that's why Jack Finney, the writer, is very very prominent for what, that creating that world. What world? That reality, and then another side, that fantasy, the past and the present, that intermingling of both is very very important. One side the practicality of life, another side the imaginative world. So the story is very nice. The story is all about time fiction, science fiction is all about, and that you will be definitely very very interested when you will come to read the whole story. So I think that you understood this part, the theme of the story, the summary of the story, introduction of the Jack Finney, that's introduction also given, and the next part of the video, the part 2 of the video, the remaining part to be discussed. So wait for that one, that video part 2. Thank you students, have a nice day.